This episode of Marijuana Today Daily is brought to you by Natural Order Supply, one of the nation's premier cannabis cultivation supply companies located right in Grand Junction, Colorado. If you're an industrial hemp farmer and need a good supplier of cultivation supplies, whether it's lights or harvest equipment, or if you just need advice on how to get better yields, then you need to check out Natural Order Supply over at their website at naturalordersupply.com. Good morning, Marijuana Nation. It's Wednesday, August 12th, 2020, and you're tuned in to episode 964 of Marijuana Today Daily. I'm your host, Shay Gunther, and I'll be walking you through today's marijuana news and headlines. As always, we have a fun, busy day of cannabis news in our hands, so let's jump right into it. We lead off today's marijuana news with a larger national storyline with industry implications, as presumed Democratic presidential nominee Joe Biden announced yesterday that he has chosen California Senator Kamala Harris as his running mate for the November elections. Senator Harris is a former prosecutor and attorney general, so there's plenty of mixed feelings among marijuana folks about her selection. Leafly did a good job of pulling together a collection of views from various industry insiders, including their very own David Downs, entrepreneur Wanda James of Colorado, Tommy Chong, and Oregon Representative Earl Blumenauer. This is a big storyline, and Leafly's piece is a great entry into some ways to think about it. I would suggest reading this one in full today. As always, we have all the news we cover linked to on our website at mjtodaydaily.com. We have a quick follow-up to a storyline we hit up yesterday in Arizona, as a ballot measure to put legal adult use before voters in the fall has officially been qualified by the state. The Smart and Safe Arizona campaign turned in around 420,000 signatures in order to hit the required mark of 237,645. The only thing now standing between voters and this smarter approach to marijuana is an expected appeal of the court case we covered in the news yesterday, which saw a Maricopa County Superior Court judge rule against a prohibitionist effort to scuttle the initiative. So we'll keep an eye on that. If ultimately approved by voters, the ballot measure would set up a taxed and regulated sales program with social equity provisions and a 16% retail sales tax. Marijuana Business Daily's chart of the week grabs our final top story of the day with a look at how the market share for vaporizers have tracked in a number of key cannabis states over the last year. That's kind of an important timeline to track given last year's vape health crisis and then the very much larger coronavirus pandemic. As the chart has it, the overall market share for vaporizers fell in every state right around August of last year, as headlines about health issues tied to vaporizers started hitting the news. Vaporizers' market share dropped a bit further from that plateau around March as pandemic closings started, but have held relatively even ever since. This one has lots of good accompanying background and detail, so I'd think about reading this one in full today as well. Those are the top stories for today. It's time for Marijuana Today Daily Headlines Blitz. Before we blitz out in headlines, let's quickly thank our sponsor, Natural Order Supply, one of the nation's premier cannabis cultivation supply companies located right in Grand Junction, Colorado. Natural Order Supply is there to make industrial hemp cultivation more convenient. It's complicated enough to grow top-quality industrial hemp. Natural Order makes your day easier and your month more profitable by pulling together all the different products and materials a professional hemp cultivator could need. And because Natural Order Supply is a soup-to-nuts kind of ag supply company, they can help out with everything from full facility build-outs to just making sure you have all the regular supply materials a modern farmer could need. Do yourself and your farm a favor today and open up naturalordersupply.com to check out all the different ways your life can be easier and more profitable as an industrial hemp cultivator. That's naturalordersupply.com. All right, time for the blitz. Cannabis sales tracking firm Headset just released some numbers for California, showing that the state sold just under $350 million in legal marijuana in July, the largest month tracked so far since adult use became officially legal in the Golden State back in 2018. That tops the previous high month of $332 million, which landed just in March, driven by pandemic panic buying. As Marijuana Business Daily points out, June's total was more than 3 times the amount of legal cannabis sold in the state's first month of sales, January of 2018, when just $100 million flowed through legal registers. Turning to Massachusetts, we have workers at the cannabis company Cultivate Holdings voting yesterday to join the United Food and Commercial Workers Union. Cultivate's employees will join those working at another Massachusetts company, Mayflower Medicinals, in being represented by the union when it comes to employment negotiations. New Jersey state officials just announced yesterday that medical marijuana recommendations can now be made using telemedicine. The order is effective immediately and pitched as a way to cut down on person-to-person interactions during the coronavirus pandemic. We have another Marijuana Business Daily story as Matt Lamers picked up on the news that Canadian marijuana giant Canopy Growth is paying its CEO David Klein $33 million a year in compensation, or more than 1,000 times more than the company's average worker makes. That works out to $92,602 per day, each and every day of the year. Canopy Growth just reported a net loss of $128 million for the first quarter of the year. Call me crazy, but those numbers are kind of messed up. Bit of obvious editorial here, but no one should make $92,000 a day to lose $128 million in 3 months. Arizona-based multi-state operator Harvest Health and Recreation just announced its latest financial results for the second quarter of 2020, with total revenue of $55.8 million, up 109% annually and 26% sequentially. That drove gross profits of $23.4 million, a net loss of $18.3 million, and an adjusted EBITDA, excluding biological adjustments, of $4.1 million. New Cannabis Ventures has more here if you need it. One more set of financials to share today as Acreage Holdings also released its second quarter results. The company reported revenue for the quarter of $27.1 million, up 53% annually and 12% sequentially, with a net loss of $37.2 million and a pro forma adjusted EBITDA loss of $1.4 million. We end the day with some very juicy news out of Pennsylvania. And I apologize for that, but I couldn't help myself. Multi-state cannabis operator Jujui Holdings just closed its acquisition of cultivation and processing facilities in Pennsylvania from fellow MSO Vireo Health. The $37 million deal was a mix of stock and $16.3 million in cash. Now that the deal is complete, Jujui holds 15 dispensary licenses in Pennsylvania, backed up by the new 90,000 square foot grow and processing facility it just picked up. Those are the headlines and news for the day. I'll be back with you again tomorrow morning with another information-packed episode of Marijuana Today Daily. But in the meantime, if you have any stories to share or feedback to give, zip us an email to headlines@mjtodaydaily.com. And while you're clicking around the interwebs, swing over to our website at mjtodaydaily.com to find links to all the news we cover. Thanks to our sponsor, Natural Order Supply, and to our awesome patron listeners for the support that makes this show possible. To join the illustrious ranks of the patron listeners yourself, swing over to our website at mjtodaydaily.com and click on that big blue button at the top of the page that says Become a Patron. I'm your host, Shay Gunther. Thanks for tuning in and starting your day with Marijuana Today. Today.
One take, Shay. One take.